You're listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. Before we get started, I want to remind you to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/rangemindedpodcast, where you can get photos, updates, and all the gun memes that you can handle. This is episode 46, where we talk about cerakoting, bluing, anodizing, and stippling your firearm. If you've ever been scrolling through the internet and seen a super cool pattern or color on a gun, chances are it was cerakoted. We go over what cerakoting is, the process, the benefits of cerakoting your gun, and we talk about how cerakoting is different than anodizing or bluing. Plus, and I'm warning you now, we get into a pretty heavy sidebar about stippling. As always, thanks for listening to Range Minded, and we hope you enjoy episode 46, the sort of cerakoting episode. From Independence Indoor Shooting, Range Minded. My name is Mark Long, and...
What's up, Steve Zimmerman?
Yeah, do you remember that Ricky heard from Jessica that we need to say our own names now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
my name is Steve Zimmerman.
Yes.
My voice is this one.
My name is Mark Long. I'm this guy.
And Ricky's still...
And this is another Ricky-free episode. Maybe.
Yeah.
So this is a two-parter.
Yeah, so we'll get into why it's a two-parter, but Ricky hopefully will be with us the second half. I don't know. He's kind of... we talked about it last time. Some good stuff has happened with the family, and...
He's taking care of some positive personal matters. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but this is a two-parter. We're recording it a little bit now, and then we're going to record a little bit later because we're talking about cerakoting. And I'm just proud of myself that I can pronounce it right because I used to say cerakoting.
So that makes me think of the story. When I worked at the store before I was here, we had a brand new sales girl, not even in the industry, brand new. Mm-hmm. And somebody called and said something like, "Hey, do you guys cerakote?"
Yeah.
And she had this bewildered look on her face, right? And she looks at me and she's like, she puts the phone on hold. She's like, "This person's looking for a Cerakote?" And I was like, I'll take the phone.
I know who Cerakote is. We can handle this. That's funny.
Yeah.
Because I guess a lot of people in the gun industry or the gun world know what it is, but maybe it's not as common as you'd think.
It's more and more like there's gun companies like Glock and really all the big guys, they're doing it in-house now.
Are they really?
Yeah.
So that why you're seeing more guns offered in different colors?
Absolutely. And so they get their certified applicator as the company, and they do all those fancy finishes in at the plant or factory, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
At the manufacturer, and then they come to this distributor.
And then they upcharge.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Lipsy's and Davidson's, they'll do some fancy custom guns that are exclusive through those distributors.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Lipsy's does it or if they contract out to those manufacturers, which I think that's what happens. But.
Yeah. So if you've seen some really, like on Instagram, more than likely or not, some really fancy, or well-worn looking finishes on guns.
Yeah. And there's and Blown Deadline. That's the guy I was trying to think of.
Oh.
So Blown Deadline, he does some amazing stuff. He's probably I would explain him as probably the premier applicator in the nation. He does some amazing stuff, and a buddy of mine, Damon, with SSVI, that's where he sends all his guns to. And a lot of you guys might know who SSVI is. He does a lot of custom Glocks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you can do it's basically you can turn your gun into a work of art. Yeah. For lack of a better term.
And I should share, you saw my 1911.
That's not done yet.
No, my other 1911, my Eddie Van Halen camouflage. Did you ever see that one?
No, I never saw that one.
I'll link that one into some pictures
here
of that
we go.
one.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Here, while we're talking,
I can't wait to see that one. But yeah, so what Cerakote is, it's a finish that you can put on your gun, both on metal and polymer. And comes in, a million different colors. You can do stencils. You can do patterns. You can really make your gun your own. And it actually does more than just aesthetically. It actually does protect your gun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of the other gun coatings, they go in a little thicker. I think this is like a 1 mil thickness is a good coat.
Yeah, it's a very, very thin
It's super
coat.
fine, and has some self-lubricating properties.
Oh, does it?
So it's not like you can run your gun dry, but it wears really well.
Sure, it helps a little bit more. So, but it's gotten more popular. You've probably seen it on Instagram. A lot of camouflage, a lot of things like that. So
there's the Eddie Van 1911.
God in heaven, that is great.
I I was bored that day.
I could tell. I feel like I need to join a hair metal band or something like that.
It turned out awesome.
I would say you could join a hair metal band, but you're missing a key component.
No hair metal band. It's funny because when I showed my father-in-law that gun, I was like, hey, I Cerakoted one of my 1911s, my Kimber. You want to see it? Yeah, let me look at it. And the look on it, he's very traditional. He's a gun collector. So like everything is like, it should be this way.
Right. It's either blue or it's nickel plated and that's it.
And I showed him and he's like, huh. That's all he says. Huh.
He didn't know what he thought.
He didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah. But yeah, so
it was hilarious.
He didn't know what to think. He probably thought you like.
He's like, you're my son-in-law?
You created an abomination, and this thing should be destroyed.
And
lost
it was
in a
awesome.
boating accident.
And it was lost in a boating accident.
Yeah. So, but it does more than just look good. It protects your gun from scratching and abrasions, all that kind of stuff. And it is a little bit of a lubricant.
And it's a baked on. Well, they do have two. They have the air dry and the heat cure.
Oh, okay.
The heat, it's a baked on finish, and it will last a long time. It's gonna wear. Every finish wears.
Yep.
I mean, it's not guaranteed forever, but it's going to last a lot longer than some of the other ones out there.
Yeah. So, and at Independence Indoor Shooting, we are a certified Cerakote applicator.
Yeah, you can jump on their website, on Cerakote's website, and look for a local applicator. Guess who pops up?
And you'll find us, Independence Indoor Shooting. And so Steve has done a couple of Cerakote jobs. He's working on another 1911 too. You want to talk about that or no?
Yeah, it's taken me forever.
Well, that's why I didn't know if it was top secret.
No, I kind of spilled the beans on it. I started the 1911 build a long time ago. We talked about that a long time ago.
We did.
Yes, I'm still working on it. And it should have been done a long time ago, but it hasn't been done. So I'm doing a themed gun, and it's going to look like a P-51 Mustang.
Which is awesome, by the way.
And it's a 6-inch slide. Yeah. I mean, it's a large gun.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going in probably more detail than I should because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw the stencils and stuff you put on there, and you really have to think about, how to do it. So
yeah, and I've had to ask Jeff. Jeff is the actual certified applicator. Jeff and Ryan, the general manager, are the certified applicators in the store. So I had to pick their brain and make sure I didn't screw it up.
Right.
You can easily screw it up.
Oh, yeah, I bet. And that leads me to my next point is that you can buy the materials and the equipment to do it yourself at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more power to you to do that.
And it costs you more money.
Yeah, because you have to buy the tools.
Yeah.
Or you can have a professional do it.
Yeah.
You bring your gun in. It doesn't take long. I mean, it only takes a couple hours. Well, I mean, to bring it into somewhere, you're going to have to wait and get in line, because it's a popular thing to have done. And
I think it is important to, if it's something you want to do to your gun, it's important to understand that it takes time.
Just like everything that's worth it.
If it's the only thing that Jeff has to Cerakote, then he'll have it turned over in a couple days between all of his other work.
Right.
But Jeff's got a lot of stuff to Cerakote.
He sure does.
So, and most guys that have, a grain of salt worth in the Cerakote world, they're going to have stuff backed up. So it could take a week, couple weeks maybe, depending on how the detail is.
Because you can send your gun out to places like Blown Deadline, I think.
Did you pull him up on what?
Yeah.
Look at his way. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we'll link to him too. It's pretty killer. But you can send your stuff out to them, and they can do what you want. I mean, it's going to cost you. The more intricate and the more custom, the better. But and I think we've got an AR here, right? That silver one, that was all Cerakote, right?
Yeah, that's Ryan's gun. Ryan did that himself.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So you can get really intricate with it. This guy, Blown Deadline is pretty nuts. Yeah. But what Steve and I are going to do is we're going to Cerakote a couple of my guns, my Walther PPQ and my PPS. Because I've never done it before, and I've never even seen the process. So we're going to try to record the process as best we can. And it's going to be a two-parter because we have to do some today, or tonight rather, because it's late Friday evening.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, the Cerakote stuff is locked up, so we need to see if we can.
Jeff's pretty protective about it.
Sure. Well, he's the certified applicator, so he should be.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to sweet talk him into letting us use it tomorrow, and then record the rest of it. So, but yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm trying to think of anything else you want to cover with Cerakote beforehand.
I don't know. What are you expecting? Like, is there something that you're expecting or hoping?
Well, it's funny because I know that you have to bake it on and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was mainly as simple as spray paint, but you said it's a little more involved of a process. So maybe walk us through the process like now, like just from start to finish, just like a quick step-by-step.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I'm not a certified applicator, right? So
right.
I'll probably miss a step.
Sure.
So prep is obviously the biggest thing. And with any gun coating, oils from your hands are going to screw it up. So the surface has to be completely clean from either fingerprint oil, oil from your hands, or lubricants for the gun itself. So there's a lot of prep that comes in. So we'll have to sandblast or media blast the frame or the slide, and then we're gonna put it in oil or in degreaser. In this case, I think we're using paint thinner. Okay. Basically. Yeah. And then we got to bake it all out. So we heat up the slide or whatever you're coating. Yeah. You heat it up to try and get whatever's embedded in the pores of the material out. And then it's a bit of a process getting the prep right.
Yeah. Well, and we should say too that you have to actually fully disassemble your gun before you do any of this too.
Highly recommended.
Or else you might ruin some things.
So when you see my Eddie Van 1911, I did some things a little unorthodox because I wanted the patterns to flow through the whole frame.
Sure.
So I deliberately broke protocol in some places because I wanted it. I didn't know how to do it any other way.
Sure.
And luckily it worked out. I basically sprayed the whole frame and slide together in one piece.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I made sure everything moved between each coat.
Sure.
And it worked. And
so you got lucky.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, and that's one thing too. You have to take the original finish off, right? So it's a permanent thing.
Yeah, bare metal, and it can be taken off if you make a mistake. You have to do the whole media blast and cleaning off the gun. Yeah, it can be fixed.
But the original finish of the gun is going to be removed. So something to keep in mind, that if you like the way your gun looks and you think it might be fun to have it purple for a day or something, think again.
And there are so many color combinations. Like there's, I don't know how many hundreds of colors they offer. But then you can mix colors. So one of my shotguns, before I lost it in a boating accident.
Right, which is unfortunate.
It was highly unfortunate, but it was a good day, I guess. I did a custom color, so I mixed two colors together to get a darker blue. So I did a black and then a real dark blue. Okay. Because I wanted a specific color that nobody had. Right. And it's a one of a kind, and I couldn't replicate it because I didn't pay attention to the ratios.
Yeah, and they're always coming out with new colors and stuff. I was actually just on the Cerakote website. They just came out with E100 Elite Blackout, which is a complete achromatic. Oh, that's the Midwest thing. Achromatic color that will give you the black eggshell finish that you have been looking for.
And they also do
kind of cool.
They also do some military police only finishes that have no heat signature.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Actually, this 1911 looks pretty cool. They did the barrel, the trigger, everything, the hammer, everything is all black.
And that new black?
Murdered out black. It's pretty cool looking.
Probably going to have to do something in that color.
Yeah, we might. But no, so I've noticed a theme for my firearms. Oh, sorry, to back up. I read also too that I think the entire British Army is Cerakoting all their firearms. Or the Australian Army, or some foreign army.
I'm sure.
So they're Cerakoting all of their firearms.
And a lot of the high-speed, low-drag guys are going to do custom coating.
British Army to Cerakote entire infantry weapon fleet.
That's interesting.
It's pretty cool for Cerakote.
And Jeff's done some pretty influential, important people guns here.
Okay.
And so, people in I don't know how to say it without people in various industries.
Yes.
And social impacts. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's a big deal. Yeah. We got to get him on the podcast.
He'll never come on the podcast.
No, that'll be a bucket list thing.
Yeah. We'll try.
He'll be here. He won't say anything.
Yeah.
But no, so I've noticed a theme with my firearms lately is that everything is gray and black.
Okay.
So like my Mossberg 500 is obviously black, but it's got the gray Magpul furniture on it. Sure. I spray painted my AR, my Aero Precision AR, gray, and then I made the lettering black and then got black furniture for it. My pistols clearly need to be gray and black.
Right on.
So might as well get started.
Okay.
And we'll see where we go from here.
We got to make a mess now.
Wish us luck.
Ooh, good luck. I can like it.
All right, so welcome back to Range Minded. I am Mark Long, and you can hear who we are joined by.
Ricky Kastner.
To your right
Academy
is Ricky
Director.
Kastner.
Yep. Wasn't here last time.
No, it was a Ricky free episode last episode, and or 2 episodes ago, and then you were here.
Yeah, this is Steve Zimmerman.
What are you, Steve?
A Libra. Well, I still hold some capacity, just not the same as I used to, but I am a podcast personality.
Yeah, okay.
Does that count?
He's adopted. He's
Adopted.
an adopted person.
One of the original employees of the store. I teach some stuff. I'm a dead sexy bald man.
That's right.
You're
That's the
purveyor
most
with a
accurate.
goatee.
Curator of dad jokes.
That's
Oh
right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, and I can pull some of those up today.
Yeah, and apparently you can Cerakote, but we can't.
Yeah.
Which is why we're back here. We the first 15 minutes of this podcast or so was a little bit of introduction on cerakoting, and
Cerakote?
yeah, cerakoting, and
She's not here. Cerakote.
why we're back so soon is because
Well, to them it didn't change. It was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Segment 1, segment 2. There was no
back
time
so
gap for them.
soon because we did all the prep work, but we can't actually apply the Cerakote because it's under lock and key.
Understandably, Jeff is protective about his equipment, even though somebody who may know how to spray, he said no.
Because there's a certification process, right?
Yeah, you can be a certified
You can buy the
applicator.
product, but yeah, you can. If you want to actually be endorsed by Cerakote, you have to be a certified app.
And so we talked to Jeff, right, today?
Jeff,
Did you have that conversation?
not really.
Oh, well, in that case.
But Cody was gonna hook us up. I don't think Jeff's listening. If he is, hi Jeff. But Cody was gonna try and help us so we could get her done. The other gunsmith, Cody.
Yeah. But we are going to do it eventually.
It'll be done.
We did do all the prep work, which involved.
It'll be done before my 1911.
Yes, it will. They sure will. But basically, it involved sandblasting, or you called it media blasting because it's not actually sand, I guess.
Well, and there's different. Well, man, we don't need to go into the science of media blasting, but it can be anything from baking soda to like large kernels of like abrasive, hard as hell sand.
Yeah.
Well, and it just depends on
something artificial.
What are you blasting?
Yeah, you have to consider the material you're blasting at, or at which you're blasting, I guess.
Because you don't want to damage the substrate of whatever you're blasting, so you gotta. And when it comes to guns, and honestly, the media that Jeff uses, I can't remember what grain it is and weight or whatever, but it's okay to use on plastic and metal.
And it'll break down over time too, so it'll get finer and finer.
I mean, if you think about something hitting something harder than itself over time, it's gonna
wear down. So, but we did all that. So we sandblasted both slides because we're just going to do the slides. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into because we did say you can Cerakote plastic, but I don't think
and wood
and polymer and anything really.
Anything.
But we're not going to get into that. We're just going to stick with the metal parts. I think this time. Okay. Maybe do a follow-up episode on.
And we'll get pictures and post this here. And I know I talked about like my Eddie Van 1911.
Yeah, that thing is great.
We got to share that on Facebook.
Yeah, so
piss off the diehard 1911 guys.
Oh,
I can't believe you did that to God's gun.
That's right, you blasphemer.
What is this? Did you eat? It's not 9. It's 45.
You saw my Kimber that I did. My orange, black, and yellow.
Oh
one?
yeah,
it looks like an Eddie Van Halen guitar.
That's right.
You can just picture hairband spandex pants.
Oh, it's great, man! I love it. So we start with sandblasting it, getting all the original finish off of it, and you really got to get every crevice in there too.
And not only that, you got to worry because the oils and lubricants dig into the pores. I think we talked about that yesterday. So you got to find a way, whether it be heat or chemical, to get that out. Yeah,
I got to get all the oil and all the material out of it. So we did it a couple different ways. Last night we put it in the oven for about half an hour, I think. Yeah. What was the temperature?
I probably had it too hot. It was like 250 degrees.
Oh, really?
But I think we had, it's not going to hurt the metal by any means. It's not going to melt the frame.
Right.
Or warp the frame even. So, Yeah, trying to get it to off gas, get some of that stuff out of the pores.
Yeah, get that out, and then which is why you can do Cerakoting at home, because you just need an oven or a toaster oven or something. So,
but do not use your wife's kitchen oven.
No, don't do that. You're going to get in trouble.
Does that make her angry?
Yes, and everything will taste weird.
Yeah, it'll off gas.
Will you get high? Is it like if she cooks a casserole in there, it turns into a special casserole?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Turn you into a superhero.
Yeah, right. Radioactive or something.
Cerakote man.
Bulletproof. No, but we did that, baked it, and then I guess you can use an acetylene torch. Or that's not what it is. It's like a butane
Just a
torch.
regular propane.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke there. A butane torch to kind of just...
Yeah, so you throw it in the bath, right? So acetone or whatever, something to break down the chemical. And
which is just fingernail polish remover.
Yeah. And it's not super caustic either. That's the other thing. So it's you don't have to worry about gloving up to put your hand in the tank.
Right.
It's not really that great for your complexion, but it's not going to eat your skin off your bones either.
Well, women put it on their fingernails all the time, and they get it on like their cuticles and fingers and all, so it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all you need. So the big thing you need is a sandblaster, really, to get that finish off, which I guess you could buy from Harbor Freight if you really wanted to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's applicators, certified or not, that are doing that. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's some really talented... We talked about Blown Deadline. There's some amazingly talented people. There's a guy in Pocatello that does a pretty good job too. Huck's Custom Gun Shop. He's pretty good.
So between, messing around with the Cerakote prep, at least the prep process, we'll see how we do with spraying at a later date. But and then talking to Nick Hoffer, it makes me want to start Cerakoting guns in my garage for no reason.
just as a hobby.
Now, mind you, if you're going to make a profit with this endeavor, you have to have a gunsmithing license if you're collecting serialized parts to do any kind of work. Sure,
because you have to get them shipped to you or whatever and all that. So
you're taking possession.
So by legal definition, you should have I think a gunsmithing license is probably
just
sufficient.
A regular FFL.
Yeah, or
apply for.
If you're going to do it, just get it. Yeah, if you're going to go that distance, just get an FFL, and then I think we've talked about the in-depth paperwork.
Yeah.
Once you are a licensed dealer, what you have to do. Maybe we haven't talked about that.
Well, and there's different levels of there's classes in the FFL, so you could apply for a different class.
So the gunsmith class, I don't know what number it is, but
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But those guys, that you can do work on guns and be covered under that FFL, because anything serialized that you take possession of, technically you should have an FFL.
Well, and the problem is then you open yourself up to
liability.
Well, liability, but also being audited by the ATF at any time.
Which will happen.
Yeah.
It's not an if thing. And from what I hear through the grapevine, they like looking at small dealers, small time guys, because to them they're kind of a hassle, whether you're doing your paperwork or not. They don't mind if the small guy goes out of business, because that's one less person they have to deal with.
Right. Interesting.
So as sad as that sounds,
this is why Nick makes holsters. You don't have to have any licenses.
Now, mind you, there's some really good benefits of having the right licensing, like getting an FFL and then getting your SOT, your special operator tax.
Yeah.
There's some really cool benefits to that.
Oh, there sure are.
We can talk about that later, but and I've thought about doing that personally, honestly, just to have. But there's things you have to do to retain that license to qualify to keep it in the next 3 years too. So
sure,
there's things you need to do.
All kinds of rules and responsibilities that you have to deal with. So, well, maybe not. Maybe I'll just see how the spraying goes, because Cody and/or Jeff is going to actually walk me through the actual application process and how all that works.
Yeah, and it's really not difficult unless you want to do something crazy, like if you want to do patterns or if you want to do textures. Then it gets kind of weird.
It's a little more in depth.
So what is the benefit of paint versus, because that's what Cerakoting is a paint.
It's a baked on ceramic.
Ceramic paint versus bluing or anodizing.
So
anodizing would be what you put on an aluminum.
Yeah.
You do.
And I'm going to show my ignorance when it comes to anodization. But I don't think you can do other metals, or there might be a few other metals you can do. I guess you can do other metals, but normally, like what you're seeing on black guns, AR-15 type guns, is anodizing with the receivers if you're buying a finished quote receiver.
Right. It's all anodized
kind of
black,
coating,
that
yeah.
flat-ish black.
And then when you look at Odin Works, those are all anodized colors on their, and it looks good.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
does.
a bad look. But a Cerakote is a different depth or different color of texture that you can get with it instead of just the smooth anodized look. So I have anodized parts on my Cerakoted guns.
Yeah, and
you can use it as an accent. It looks pretty cool.
And bluing is almost like a stain, maybe, or
Well,
like
it's a chemical.
Bluing's a dead rust.
Yeah.
So when you're bluing, it comes to a red rust, and then it. It's actually very interesting how they used to blue. And when I was going through gunsmithing school, pardon how I tell this story, but this is how they told it to me. But they used to, back in the day, people would just pee on their guns, and then you'd hang it out to rust it, and it turns to red rust. And then you
wipe.
Yeah, then you wipe.
Sorry,
That had to smell.
No. Then you card off the red rust with steel wool, and you'll do that several or many times, and then that applies layer after layer after layer. So you're killing the rust, and then that protects the metal.
That's interesting.
So you're actually rusting it, but not rusting it to where it's pitting and
So
everything.
rusting it just enough.
And
Interesting.
then now you do what you call
So why don't they
hot salts.
Why don't they call it pooing instead of bluing? Sorry.
Because you're not pooing. I actually don't know.
Potty humor. Hey.
We've lowered ourselves to that level now.
But yeah, there's some beautiful bluing jobs out there. People talk about the old way that Colt used to blue. They had a secret.
Well, you get to the real Colts. Yeah, you get to that royal blue, which is amazing.
And they don't know that anymore. They don't know what chemical. From what I understand, they don't know.
Well, that's intriguing.
What chemical actually made that, because that stuff got lost.
And the thing is with Colt, because they had so much pride in their hand fit, like their snake guns, their high end snake guns. There was only one guy that was allowed to fit like pythons and work on the one guy, and he was the senior smith, and he was the only one allowed to do it.
That's crazy.
And that's why they were so damn smooth and beautiful,
and why they fetch a lot of money now.
Well, that and The Walking Dead is why they fetch a lot of money.
That also helps, yeah.
But yeah, so that's the story on bluing, and you can get colors regular black and brown. So plum browning would be kind of a similar process. But
and if we're talking about old school, there's also case hardening, which
case hardening is beautiful.
Isn't that an oil type process?
Well, it's different. So you can put different chemicals in there. So it's baking in an oven, and you put all these different. Modern case hardening is done by chemical, but the old stuff was actually bone and other stuff.
Oh, they put it. That's right.
A kiln,
and they cook it with all that stuff,
and they put the colors in.
That's right. I did know that.
And it case hardens it with all the chemical compounds from those elements.
Yeah, it would get baked into the.
I think wood. They put wood in there.
Different woods. Yeah. That's true. I did hear that one time.
And color case hardening is beautiful.
And some of those old original, oh my gosh, you can't. The chemical is nowhere near like the old school stuff. It's just it's too. The old stuff is just deep and has so much. It's just different.
Yeah, it's like real mother of pearl grips versus the fake garbage.
or ivory or something like that. Actual elephant ivory compared to plastic. It just doesn't.
Fake, yeah.
It doesn't feel.
It's not the real thing.
Yeah.
Not that we're endorsing
ivory.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not.
Elephant poaching.
But you could talk about nickel plating too, because that's another thing.
Yep. Oh, and even chrome plating.
Yeah, nickel and chrome plating.
Yep.
That's a thing. But yeah, cerakoting is just another form of kind of protecting your gun from the elements. I'd say it's, the biggest things like we talked about earlier were abrasion resistance and kind of scratch resistance, and that just a wide variety of colors. I mean, there's hundreds of colors that you can do. And I remember, I don't know if it's still popular. People still Duracoat, or is that kind of gone by the wayside?
Yeah, Duracoat's still around.
That's another option that's kind of like cerakoting, but...
And it is kind of like a ceramic finish, but it's usually an air cure. They do, I think, have a heat cure. Mm-hmm. And that stuff, I mean, you can get that at Brownells. I mean, there's no certified applicators as far as I'm aware of. But It's not
as
near
good.
scratch resistant.
Yeah, I've noticed the finish too is kind of weird, and because I saw somebody that I had a class with back in Illinois had a Duracoat, like a green Duracoat or whatever, and just didn't feel. It felt like the texture
Like
wasn't
a chalky.
Yeah, it just felt weird. I didn't. But Cerakote, you don't really. You don't really notice the finish on it. It's just like a normal,
like we said yesterday, it goes on so thin, and you get a good even coat it's not. You shouldn't interfere with the action of the firearm.
Yeah.
If we're talking about Cerakoting, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Ricky's train of thought derailed.
Ricky lost it.
You can cut that one out. No, there was something super profound I was going to talk about.
It'll come to you. So maybe there's some people that are like, well, I'll just buy the camouflage Rust-Oleum and put that on my gun.
Yeah.
And honestly,
you can spray paint. Yeah.
In reality, like there are some high speed, legitimate, like guys that have been behind the lines, observing
in some dangerous places,
observing and doing things that they do.
Yeah.
Kind of on the DL, right?
Right.
That do spray paint their guns.
A lot of them do.
And the reason why they do it that way is because they can match terrain with colors and texture.
Mm-hmm.
So I have.
Well, you can actually take the vegetation, lay it over the top of your gun, and spray paint it.
And I spray painted one of my guns, and honestly, it looks pretty cool. It doesn't look bad until I go to clean it, and it's going to come off with gun cleaning materials.
Yeah. No, I spray painted one of my ARs with just like a flat gray Rust-Oleum or something, like just for fun. I mean, who cares, And
the nice thing about that is like, if you do that route, it's going to stink, it's going to cook off, and it's going to smell terrible when you shoot the gun. Mm-hmm. But you can always change it, change your texture, change your colors. What do you see back there, Ricky?
Somebody playing with their car. I have, infinite situational awareness.
I see that. What about that spider behind your head?
I'm aware of him.
He's just choosing to ignore him.
No, what I was originally going to say, if we're going to talk about, because it's kind of this Cerakoting has turned into all different finishes, but what about hydro dipping?
Personally, I hate the idea of hydro dipping a gun. Mm. A stock maybe, but like the entire gun or like a handgun, to me that is completely stupid. If you've ever touched a hydro dipped frame of a handgun, they are so slippery. And
all the track or all the grip that you get is
because
gone.
It's a film. It's a film that's covering everything up. You just dunk exactly as the name sounds, right? Hydro dipping. You're putting a film on a bucket of water and you're dipping that gun through the film. There can be some really cool like stuff done with hydro dipping, but to hydro dip a handgun in particular, I think it's a waste of time. It's never gonna last. A couple times in and out of a holster, you're done.
Mm-hmm. And there's different thicknesses to them.
There is.
So what is it? It's like 3 millimeters.
I don't remember. But yeah, you can do a couple different things, and there's actually a lot of different patterns and textures and colors and American flags and skulls, and
you can even get a wood grain hydro dip. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
And there's some videos online that's kind of cool. Is they're taking spray paint and borax soap, and they'll just do a big Tupperware tub. Great big one, and they'll dump borax in there, and then they'll spray paint different colors, right? Do all sorts of weird things. Yeah. And then they hide it because it stays on the surface. The soap acts as a surfactant that keeps everything on top of the surface, and they dip their gun through the paint and it's exactly the same thing.
Really?
That's pretty cool.
And
cool.
There's some guitars and stuff that they have online that I've seen done that way, and it's pretty cool.
And see, I feel like if you had like my CZ Scorpion, I feel like since most of that, like all the external stuff is all pretty much polymer, you could probably get away with hydro dipping in that regard.
Yeah, but it's just not scratch resistant.
Yeah, it's just like with spray paint. As soon as you like, even just taking my AR apart that I spray painted, I mean, you can see where some scratches are and where. But I mean, sometimes
I'm wondering
that look is cool.
I wonder if you could clear coat over it somehow. Make it a little bit better. And
I'm sure you could, but the clear coat's
stipple through it.
The clear coat's not going to be as durable as a baked on finish.
Yeah,
it's just not. There's only way to do it is something that's a ceramic type finish. And honestly, I think there's some other companies out there making a ceramic finish like Cerakote, but they just don't have the reputation that Cerakote has. It's a great product.
Yeah, and so we'll see how it goes on.
Yeah.
But we'll close on this one.
Because we still got a few minutes, I'm sure. We haven't. Really
we do, yeah.
So Ricky touched on stippling.
Oh, okay. We can keep going.
Well, just made me think about it, because you can stipple through Cerakote. I've done it with a couple guns of my own guns that I lost in a boating accident last week.
Right, which is unfortunate.
That makes me think of Nick, and they're just going to go in ATF diving suits.
Yeah, he's going to get his diving suit going. And
yeah, you can stipple through it, so it gives you a chance to do some two-tone stuff, or you can smooth off a section of your handgun. Damon at SSVI is a great example of that, where he spends a lot of time resurfacing a polymer gun and then Cerakotes the image and then stipples around it. It's pretty cool what
you can do. A lot of cool stuff. Well, we talked about the battle worn look too, which you can do with Cerakote, where you see a lot of those like battle worn or two-tone kind of things, and you can. And the process is you use multiple coats of Cerakote and then kind of sand it off and then use another coat or whatever, and pretty cool how that all comes together. So
well, and there's if you have any kind of artsy fartsy mentality, you can use a pantyhose or something with like
the snakeskin.
Yeah, snakeskin look, or the AR I painted. I used a laundry bag.
Oh, okay.
And I stretched it, so each one of those, you imagine a net, right?
Yeah,
is stretched in different fashions. It gives it a real dynamic look to it. And
you're basically just making your own stencils. Yeah.
And you can do some pretty cool stuff if you're just patient and
you experiment a little.
If you're buying Cerakote not as an applicator, it can get expensive. So
really?
It's kind of intimidating. But you can get like the sample bottles, and it's enough to do a whole AR.
Oh really?
Yeah. And those, I think, are $50 or something for the sample bottle. Mm-hmm. But then you got to think about, I got to get a
sprayer, a booth, all that stuff, an oven.
Yeah, you need like we said, you need a sandblaster or some kind of media blaster to get, because you can't really sand that stuff off by hand. There's too many little nooks and crannies in guns, and
you have to think about how you need to give it a porous surface to be able to adhere to. Mm-hmm. If it's slick in any way, it's just gonna.
Well, and the other thing with the polymer, you have to turn the PSI down on the sandblaster, and that's what Cody said at least.
Yeah.
He said you just turn it down a little bit.
I guess it depends on the media you're using. Gotcha. Honestly. So, if you have something super abrasive and you're using the same pressure, and if you're hanging out in the same spot, that's the other thing, is you're not going to, when you're media blasting, you're not going to be like super distracted and be like, oh yeah, I was talking to your buddy while not moving your hand. And suddenly you have a big gaping hole in the side of your gun. You just got to be conscious of what's going down. Yeah, it's kind of like it because I've never sandblasted anything before except until yesterday and today, and it's a lot like spray painting. You just have to go kind of nice, even strokes. Yeah, not too close, really not too far.
And you can get in there and get like the look, like the what'd you say, the striker channel and stuff, like those little nooks and crannies. You can get in there, but I mean, you kind of need a sandblaster to do that kind of that kind of a job. So,
and the nice thing is really not, it's not hard. Mm-hmm. A little bit of common sense and there's so much stuff on YouTube. I mean, you could YouTube some stuff and be like, oh, I can do that. So it's not outside the wheelhouse of most people. Yeah, if you have any DIY kind of sensibilities, then you could probably do it. So, but we can talk about stippling if you want to, because that's another kind of modification.
We haven't had an episode of stippling ever.
No, we can if you want.
If you want to save that for a whole nother episode, or
yeah, we can tease it for something later, and then we can show some of my stuff that I've done and Cody's some stuff he's done. I've been lucky enough where I've met Damon, and he's a friend of mine from SSVI. I kind of picked his brain, and we can go about this later. So
sure. I've
had a chance to do a lot of guns.
Yeah.
Through the stores that I've worked in, and it's pretty fun.
Well, let's touch on it a little bit now, and then we can do a full episode on another time. But tell me a little bit about what stippling actually is and what the point is.
The down and dirty would be like you're resurfacing a polymer frame, and you can do, now there is stippling you can do with steel or aluminum. Now that involves a mechanical device, not a wood burner that I can go buy at a craft store. And I make my own tips, so I have some.
What do you make them with?
I just use screws and some mechanical know-how of how to make different ends on those. Because the thread pattern is 3/32
Oh, so
screw.
you grind down the head of the screw.
Yeah. So and then I, because I can think ahead, I have a mechanical mind, right? So I can figure out how I'm going to do a triangle or, some kind of different bit that they don't have that I have to make.
Yeah, basically you're burning or impressing new patterns into the polymer.
You're resurfacing the polymer. That's the best way I could describe it.
And you do that for, besides aesthetics, there actually is a purpose to it, right?
So originally, guys were doing like grip tape on their guns.
Yeah, or skateboard tape,
which is great. I did that with my first handgun.
Yeah.
And then it only lasted like 2 months. I'm like, well, this is stupid. So I just peeled it off, and then I had this sticky mess that collected dirt on it. And
yeah, because you can buy Talon grips or skateboard tape.
And Talon grips are just fine.
Yeah.
But they're probably $30-$40 for a Talon grip. Maybe they're less. Maybe it's
they're $20, I think. Yeah.
A good stipple job is going to cost you. My base charge is $150.
Mm-hmm. Well, and good stippling can be beautiful too.
Yeah. So it started in the competitive type world. The idea behind stippling is wet hands, dry hands, gloved hands, whatever. You're going to get a good purchase on the gun, and you're not going to have to death grip the gun to keep it in your hands.
Yeah.
So you can loosen up that grip, and it's still going to have grip back. So that's the idea behind it.
Well, and actually, if you'd like to learn more about stippling, because we'll do a whole full episode
danged, I wrote a blog on
that, but you can go to iishooting.com and under news, and if you go to the July 18th, 2017 post, you can find an article on whether to stipple or not to stipple. That is the question from one Steven Zimmerman.
I forgot I wrote a blog on that.
Yeah. Well, and we just switched it to the...
So our new
website, so it'll actually be a different date. I haven't figured out how to switch dates to make it retroactive.
We can link your article from the podcast. So be on the lookout for that. We'll talk about it. That'll be a little bit more about stippling. We'll do a full episode on it. I think that'd be interesting to do.
I'd be happy to do it because I really enjoy stippling. For me, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of my own guns. And like I say, through the stores I've worked at, I've been able to help some customers out too with some problems they felt they were having. And so every time I do a gun, I'm like, man, they're gonna hate this.
Really?
Because I'm my own worst critic, right?
Sure. Well, you know all the mistakes you've made.
Yeah. Luckily with stippling, sometimes there's ways to hide it unless you really screwed up.
Sure. But yeah, that would be cool. We'll do one on stippling, and we'll make the two-parter, the second parter on Cerakoting and stippling together.
Sure.
Because it'll be interesting to go over the Cerakoting part and the aftermath of and the final process of all of that. So I'm excited because the other thing about with Cerakoting, which I'm not sure about, which we can talk about a little bit, but I was hesitant to do the frame anyway because I didn't know if you would lose that grip. Lose any sort of grip from Cerakoting?
You won't. The coating is so thin that any definitions in the original checkering or whatever you want to call it on the frame, no, it'll still feel the same.
It'll still feel the same.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was wondering about that and just what it would, if there would be any tactile difference with it being adhering to polymer as opposed to metal. So, but we'll see.
I think it actually adheres better to polymer than the metal.
Well, polymer might be more of
a little more porous.
A little more porous.
Yeah,
anyway,
and when it bakes in, I think it probably has a little bit more.
Just sticks to it a little bit
stickier.
Yeah. So, and we'll see if I want to rock the two-tone for a little while.
If done right, it looks pretty sick.
Yeah. I've been looking at stuff online, and you can do two-tone, you can do the whole gun one color. I don't know if I like the whole gun one color. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I can always change my mind, but
I'm the guy that has to do everything different, so I can't keep anything stock.
Well, and the other thing too that I was thinking about is there's literally so many colors, and so what I think I talked about when we started the episode that my kind of color palette is gray and black for all my guns. I don't know. I've been looking at burnt bronze and black would be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some Lipsies, like Lipsies did I think they did a Walther. Yeah. I know they did a VP9 that was the bronze, burnt bronze and black.
I'm more of the outlandish colors. I like not the purple that you did, like the Barney green or whatever your 1911 was, your Kimber.
That's not purple. It's black and orange.
Whatever it was.
Black, orange, and yellow.
No, I like the midnight blue.
Like my shotgun.
Reds.
You saw my shotgun I did, right? That had that real dark. To me, it reminds me of Cobra Commander Blue. I don't. If you guys had Jed, maybe.
Yeah. See. Well,
maybe
yeah.
you
You did actually a really, really cool one. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is going to be the problem now. Once I get one or two guns Cerakoted, I'm going to want to bring my other stuff in, bring my shotgun in, and get that one done. Get probably the AR that isn't spray painted. Get that one done. You know, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm hoping is maybe Jeff can walk me through it, and then he can trust me to just do it. I don't know. I'm
Building that relationship can be difficult.
Trustworthy. So
I love Jeff to death, but he's just Jeff.
Well, and you know what? Cody brought up a good point. It's his domain. It's his space. Yeah. So I totally respect that, because if somebody walked into my office and started messing around with stuff or whatever, would not be happy about it.
No.
Yeah. But no, I'm bringing up a picture of the burnt bronze and black from Walther forums. It's not really easy to see, but...
Oh, that's ugly.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Thanks.
It looks like a titanium nitride.
You don't like it, Ricky?
No, I like it. That's actually another...
I don't. I'm just kidding.
Looks almost as bad as a blue shotgun.
That's another coating that we could touch on really quick.
Oh, like the nitride finishes?
The nitride. Yeah. So you have black nitride, titanium nitride. I mean, there's all sorts of nitride out there. But what the nitride does... At least the black nitride is it hardens the surface. Actually, we experimented with it with the M2 machine gun, and it made it too hard on the surface to where the rivets wouldn't.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sink. Yeah. So they kind of just floated on the surface, which you want the rivets to kind of dimple the metal a little bit, and it just mush in there. But actually anodizing, if you do there's decorative anodizing, and then there's functional anodizing, right? So a lot of the anodizing that you see in the on the
like
AR-15s and stuff like that is actual hardening anodizing. It actually hardens.
Oh yeah, I guess strengthens the surface. Mm-hmm. Well, and like you talked about titanium nitride, and there's a bunch of other like compounds that people will anodize with. Like you see the bolt carriers that are gold or that are stainless steel or
nickel boron.
Nickel boron. It's not stainless steel, but it's got that stainless steel type finish on it.
And nickel boron is awesome on a BCG. If you guys have a chance to find somebody that you want to make sure it's a good coder that's putting that nickel boron, otherwise it might start flaking off and then you'll be really pissed. But a good nickel boron bolt is pretty awesome.
But yeah, you can buy them online. I mean, there's some. I mean, most of the major manufacturers, I would say, make them.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the higher dollar ARs,
very very wear resistant.
It's super easy to clean.
Yeah, then that was the other thing.
Self-lubricating type properties. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. It actually helps when it slides back and forth and helps it actuate a little bit better. So,
which is actually something that Anderson Manufacturing said that they started doing with their steel. It's infused with calcium.
Well, that's interesting.
So it lubricates with the calcium.
I guess it's just a smaller molecule, so there's less abrasive parts coming together. That's interesting.
Yeah, just the steel, like, I mean, it's just amazing to me that you can take these components and you can stick them together.
The
science that's behind
really get into the metallurgy of it and everything. Yeah. So, that's another thing too we could talk about is do you even do an episode on is just how all that stuff works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
what do you guys think? Like, what's your? I'm talking to the audience now. Sorry, as I'm looking at you guys.
Looking at us, yeah.
So how about you guys? Like, is there a coating you prefer? Is there, like, maybe some suggestions you think Mark should do with his guns? Or
give me some color options, because I got some time now. Yeah. And I'm very fickle when it comes to this stuff. Like, I thought, okay, tungsten gray, the way to go. But I've got two slides that I'm doing, so I don't want to do them the same color.
You don't want to stay
lame.
boring.
Right, exactly. I need to spice my life up a little bit here. Yeah. But Cody also brought up a good point. The PPS is going to be my carry gun. You don't want that to be like a bright red or something like that. So I'll probably stick with tungsten on that one, but maybe
there's
a little more fun on the PPQ.
There's this guy, and he was on Top Shot. I don't remember his name. He was an Army veteran, which you'd think would give him a little bit more common sense with life because he's had some experience. But he wrote this article on how your carry gun should be painted to match your skin tone. What? So the bad guy can't see it in your hand.
What?
And he was 100% serious. He got tore apart apart in forms.
Oh, I bet. Because, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, your gun should match your skin tone, so as you point your gun at a bad guy, he doesn't know.
Yeah, okay. Or like if you're...
Isn't that the opposite of what you want?
I think I would want
because you want the guy, that's a show of force. That's one type of use of force, right?
Yeah.
Is displaying a firearm.
Because we've talked about that, how not using a gun but displaying a gun can stop an incident.
Yeah, that would qualify as a defensive gun.
So if you came in front of a jury and said that,
you would get
I matched it with my skin tone, so that
the
bad guy couldn't see
he couldn't see my gun. You would get destroyed.
Yeah, you would be in jail forever. So
so don't use that logic when picking a color of Cerakote.
Yeah, that's pretty foolish.
Well, I think on that with Cerakote we'll close, and
on that note,
wait for the part 2 coming up in a couple weeks, because we've got some other episodes lined up in between then and now. But hopefully we'll see how all that goes, and we'll report back and get a little more in depth on stippling and a couple other things. So
and don't be scared to let us know how we're doing. If you guys have any questions or comments, or if there's something you guys want to know or want to hear about or want to talk about, you want to hear us get some specific guests. We got some cool people that we're trying to get lined up that hopefully you guys will be really interested in. I think it's going to be super interesting. We're trying to get Greg Pruitt off of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance on.
I think that'll be fun.
And that's looking really promising. So I guess I should be careful teasing that until we get it 100%. But it sounds like he's on board, and we are so excited to have him on.
Well, yeah, that would be good to have him talk about how do you start up these.
Yeah,
these
group,
Second Amendment.
And I'm trying to get some newly elected legislators on. I've been talking to one in particular that is extremely pro Second Amendment. So I'm not going to name drop him. I want him to be 100% concrete before I say anything about him showing up. But and I don't even think I've talked to you guys about him. I'm hoping I can get him on. And we're going to be working on some other guests in the future that in the manufacturing side that I think we pretty awesome too.
Yeah, we've talked about how the Treasure Valley is in a wonderful spot for all kinds of manufacturers of all different things in the firearm world. So want to get them involved. And hey, if you're in the industry and you want to be on the podcast, shoot us an email, podcast at iishooting.com.
Maybe we'd love to have you on.
Yeah, find us on
Just
Facebook.
Don't be a dork about it. If you're a weenie, we might not put you on. So
yeah, Steve doesn't like weenies.
Actually,
I'm not quite sure how to respond to that.
even if you're anti-gun,
I would love to have a conversation,
and it's not going to be a super rude.
Sure,
we
we'll
can
tell
sit
Steve
here
to
and
be
talk.
nice.
Yeah, Steve can be nice. For
believe it or not, I can be very pleasant.
I believe it. Maybe. So, but let us know. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/rangeminded podcast. Let us know episode suggestions, feedback. We know you're listening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jessica listens. You know, and she has no shortage of constructive criticism. I told her I appreciated all the positive stuff on Thursday.
You should hear what she has to say about Mark sometimes. He calls it constructive. I don't know if that's
I'm trying to be optimistic. Sarah, Jessica's one of the
about his soothing voice. Or
his soothing voice.
Yeah, that's
Something
right.
else.
Although I'd say yours, when you do that, is more soothing than mine.
Is it? I could put you to sleep.
Well, you're a crooner. I learned
Your
that.
eyes are getting heavy.
That's good. Put the listeners to sleep. That's good. So, all right. Well, we will close on this one, and we will talk to you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.